Hello, everyone, and welcome to Live at Epiphan Thursday afternoon. Thanks for joining us today. And I see a few people in chat already. Sinoga, Kangaroo, BBI joining us from, Sinoga all the way from Uganda, Kanga from Mile High City in Denver, and BBI Productions. Not sure where you're located. Let us know in chat. We have a great show for everyone today. We have a fantastic guest who is a video producer and technician with an extensive background in broadcast. And now he's kind of coming to us from the angle of an independent video producer who's building his own on-demand podcast and video recording studios. So we got connected with him recently, and he has some really great experience to share. So without any further ado, let's introduce our guest, Jeremy Prudhomme. Jeremy, welcome to Live at Epiphan. It's great to have you on the show.
Hey, thanks for having me. I'm happy to talk with you guys. I think this should be pretty interesting as much as I love that we just connected randomly and then we kind of started talking and then, I didn't know anything about Epiphan and now I'm a fan of Epiphan. So
you're a part of the Epiphan now.
Epiphan. Oh, that's what it is. Okay. So that's good.
Yeah, we've got some Epiphan members in chat as well. So if anyone is watching the show live, please don't hesitate to chime in with your questions in chat. We'll be paying attention there. And if you have any questions for Jeremy, I'm sure he'd be pleased to share his knowledge and experience. So why don't we start kind of with your background, Jeremy? First of all, pull back even before that. You're joining us from one of your studios in Ottawa. Can you give us a little bit of a glimpse of your studio setup?
For sure. So it's a small studio that I started about a year and a half, 2 years ago. And it was basically to help people to create content really, really fast, right? So people would come in every week, do their content. It's a cool 3-camera setup. We didn't go with PTZ setup, but we did go with we have 2 cameras that are controllable pan and tilt, but we did go with a higher end camera setup. We got 3 Pocket 6Ks from Blackmagic in here with Sigma Art lenses. We got a little switcher. So we got a full setup to create stuff really, really fast, basically for clients. And we got the lights in the back so that they change colors for different clients. So the idea was because not everybody wants the same backdrop, so we tried to make it a little bit customizable for clients. So that's kind of the space in a quick design, as you can see, kind of the full space here.
Yeah, beautiful. We're just seeing that wide camera shot right now, getting a sort of a view of the space. It looks like a pretty nice setup you have there. I want to get into that in great detail, but why don't we kind of start off by getting to know you a little bit better, Jeremy. Let's start with your background. I know you come to being a video producer from the broadcast television world, so maybe you can tell us about your career in broadcast.
Yeah, so I guess I studied at l'Institut Collégial, which is a broadcast television course in Ottawa, and then I went straight to, I shouldn't go straight, but I went to almost straight to CBC, Radio-Canada, which is the main broadcast in Canada, the main broadcaster, or one of the big ones. Before that, I did maybe a month of video conferencing with Polycom system, and I think is it Tandberg systems, some systems like that, which was a pretty cool experience. But then, the broadcast experience was cool. I started as just a camera operator in studio for shows like Power and Politics, local news, French and English, so stuff like that. Then I really ended up doing everything at CBC, which was really a cool experience. I went from, I did some editing, some field camera. So there's studio camera, there's field camera where you'll follow your reporter all day and shoot some stories. Then I did assistant director. I did director for local news. I did CCUs, which is the camera control unit, which is basically nowadays you'll see you have your iPhone, everything's an automatic, but usually in a broadcast studio, we would put a color chart, and then we would match all the cameras, right? So all that was done in the background. So I was an expert in CCU and color matching, color balancing for cameras, which sounds simple nowadays, but really it's like when you're in a broadcast station, it can be quite complicated to get the perfect color matching cameras. So I did a lot of work in there, even teleprompter running. It sounds almost dumb. It sounds simple. But we had somebody that was running the teleprompter doing robotic cameras. So they had really cool robotic camera systems where you had a touch screen, you would save your shot, and then it would go from shot A to shot B, right? So if you saved a zoomed in, then it would, you'd just touch the screen and it would zoom in. So they had some cool camera system, like a PTZ, but a full broadcast camera with a full system, which was massive, and would do focus and everything. So that was interesting. And I finished kind of my career at CBC as a switcher director and a lot of all the other stuff too. Switcher director, we worked on a system called Ignite. Nowadays it did change to Overdrive, which I think is from Ross. So it's a system that basically it's such a cumbersome system. Like you code everything. So you become like a coder. You're a switcher director, but you become a coder. So you code your cameras in, your mics, your graphics into almost like an Excel sheet. We used iNews system, but we code everything, upload that into the system, and while the show would go on, we just press next, right? It would just be next, and it would take the mic 1, camera 1, and do stuff like that. And then we would put graphic 1, and then it would just do it automatically. The only downside of that is that when it crashes, it's really hard to get back on top of your show, but that's kind of what I did at CBC. I was also a camera operator on The Hill, so for Power and Politics. So that just involved like setting up a camera and a full setup, a little bit like in a studio, but on The Hill, so on Parliament Hill.
It sounds like you have just like a great variety of experience in all aspects of the broadcast industry.
For sure.
And being in some of those broadcast control rooms where you're doing camera acquisition and you're doing signal routing, it can get pretty complex. So I'm kind of curious, how have you translated what you learned in the broadcast world to some of the stuff you're doing as an independent producer now?
Yeah, so like just to give you an idea, just before I become independent, I worked for 3 museums that are one corporation called Ingenium, which is a Science and Tech Museum, Aviation and Space Museum, and Agriculture and Food Museum. And so I worked 4 years there as more of a producer, filming, editing, and all that stuff. So I really pushed my skills of producing there, I think. And then after that, I became freelance. Then I started my small business, and then now I have a corporation. So it really built up from there. And I think, and then there's the studio that we're going to talk about. But really, I think I had all the skills to do pretty much anything when I got out of CBC, meaning I could film, but I could also do live events, live streaming. Live streaming came out this year just like crazy because of Zoom and the pandemic. So that was a really interesting part because a lot of people are streaming a wedding, and not a lot of people can do it, right? Because you need the switcher, like the Epiphan system would be a good one, and then you need 1, 2, or 3 cameras, and you need all those things, right? You could build a computer, but there's a lot of system that will help you to do that. So I think, to go back, CBC helped me a lot to, figure out all these things, and then the production at the museum also. And now, my business was really low when I started at freelancing, which is, I think it's really hard to get into it. Because I tried starting it when I was at CBC doing some freelance, when I was at the museum also. But if you're not in it full time, it's going to be very hard to get there, right? If you want to become a freelancer or run a business, you almost have to, for me, my position got cut at the museum, which is the best thing that ever happened to me because it let me actually try to become an entrepreneur and push myself to actually create things, right? So that's kind of like, I think, I kind of forgot your question a little bit there, but I think that's where I am right now. So, and this.
Well, you mentioned that, you kind of got that push to become an entrepreneur. I want to dive into that a little bit with your company, JEEMAN Productions. Mm-hmm. So maybe just kind of tell us about like the vision of the company and, how, what problems you're trying to, solve and what kind of clients you're trying to attract and kind of your vision for the company.
Yeah, I think at the beginning of the business, it was very just corporate clients, because I think they're great clients when they want a good product and you really want to create that product for them and with them, and that's it's really nice. Now the company shifted when I met a guy named Martin Clément. Funny enough, he's like a real estate agent, so it has nothing to do with video, but met this guy, and then Martin is like, I need help doing my podcast, and I'm just like, okay. And he has a computer that he made the IT guys from just across the corner from here build for him with multiple video cards and all that stuff, enough to have 3 cameras going in, like small USB, very cheap cameras that he had, which was fine because it worked, right? So I met this guy. We talked for like 3 hours. It was a really good conversation, and we were just gonna help him to start his podcast. So we did that for a while with the small cameras off OBS, which was really easy way to do it. If you don't know OBS, it's a great software to do a lot of stuff, which is good, and I think it's free, so that's awesome. So the vision now is basically because of this guy that I started a podcast for. He said at one point, he just said like, Jerry, you should start like a podcast garage or like a podcast cafe or something like that. And I was just like, oh yeah, that could be an idea. I have the skills to do that. So, it's an idea. And then after that, we built I borrowed some PTZ cameras from the museum. I got a deal working with them. So they let me borrow this gear, PTZ cameras, and I had a small switcher at that time. The first A10 Mini just came out. So we built a set that was basically not in this room, but the room beside us. And the set was really like, it was a horrible, like it was ugly. Like it was really bad. It was like these really bad panels, and we don't have pictures of that set, but just to know that it's good to make mistakes, right? So that was my first mistake going into, but it was working, but it was not the greatest. And the reason why it was not great is because the ATEM at that time was the ATEM Mini. And so the ATEM Mini records what you switch. So you just get one recording and that's it. Now we were able to switch after that to the ATEM Mini ISO. So you can kind of see on the screen. So you have multiple cameras coming in, the audio, there is compressors into it, and you can record all ISO cameras, meaning you can record each camera separately, and it creates a project, right? It creates an editing project in Resolve. And then, so we found all those tools that we would be able to create something really, really fast, like export something really fast, even though we made a bunch of mistakes. So it was easier to hire somebody to do that switching. That didn't have 15 years of experience, right? So that came about, and I think it really gave us the idea of creating more podcasts. I say podcast, but it's a video for YouTube in a sense, but it's most of all like it's going to be people talking to each other. So kind of a podcast, right?
Not too dissimilar from what we're doing right now, really.
Exactly.
So, I'm kind of curious about that a little bit. And speaking to you, you talk a lot about sort of the efficiency of your workflow. So you mentioned just before we started the show today that you've already cut 2 videos today for 2 different clients just this morning. And,
sure.
They're kind of, you get them in and out of your studio in, you know, a matter of an hour or something with, you know, their video posted and everything. So maybe you could tell us just sort of how you create that efficient workflow in your studio, as well as be able to sort of automate that process. Like, you know, why is that important, and how do you try to accomplish that?
For sure. Yeah. So let's talk about just the process right now with the ETA Mini ISOs. It actually records the project, right? So when you export that or import that into your computer and open it in Resolve, you'll have all your cameras that you've cut. So camera 1, camera 2, like it's already cut. So if you did a good job, and they did a good job, your clients did a good job, you, like, let's say it's a conversation, usually it's like in and out, and we might fix a thing or two, but it's like, it's going to take me, you know, 10 minutes to just export that into a draft video, let's say. So that's kind of the process. And when somebody is alone, then they do a lot of mistakes. They do a lot of takes. So they'll be like, let's say I have a real estate agent. He'll say, you know, today we're talking about real estate. And then he might do a couple of stumbles. And then so we'll retake point number 1 a few times. And then we'll retake that. And then right now with the workflow is I use a fade to black on my switcher to as a marker. Because it's on top and I can delete it after. So I use that as a marker, and then so I can edit these videos within, you know, 10 to 20 minutes. Then my workflow is it might be weird for some people because some people would do it all in Resolve. I have a lot of skills in Premiere also, and I like Premiere for some reasons, though I'm sure it's doable in Resolve, and you could do all your graphics there and your audio post-processing. Super doable. I do it in Premiere, and it's basically like copy paste of graphics. So I'll copy paste their intro, their titles. I love the new title system in Premiere. I really like it, though I know Resolve is much faster for exporting and a lot of stuff. So there's ups and downs, and then at the end I either use Frame.io to send it to them, and we can talk about Frame.io a little bit later, but it's a great system for revisions. And then for some people, I post for them. So I'll upload them directly to YouTube. Usually they tend to trust me and you know, everything's good, and they almost don't watch their videos anymore. They just let the workflow go, and they know it's a good workflow. And some people will go watch the video and see what we do, because we do write-ups, we do cover pictures on YouTube, and we also post on Anchor. If you don't know, Anchor is a great spot to post all your podcasts. It's free. It's easy. You can add intro music directly in the app. It's like it's really really nice. And I think to finish your question, I think it's important to do it fast because people want fast content now. It's not just. I think one client came to me and it was like, "This is really cool. Like I get it before I get home. Like if it's a simple video." Before they get home, they get their video in their inbox so they can post it, versus, you know, they said, oh, we had a video guy, but it took 2 weeks, you know?
Yeah.
So the studio is made for just fast-paced content, like come in, get out, and then you get your video. So that's kind of the upside of the space, right?
Yeah, fantastic. And tell us a bit about your business model. Like what kind of clients do you have? I know you mentioned like real estate agents and, you know, maybe even, you know, mortgage brokers, but there's a variety of clients you have. And my understanding is that you work on like almost like a subscription based model where, you know, someone will pay you a monthly fee and they get to use the studio 4 times a month or on a weekly basis or whatever plan that you have them with. And so maybe tell us how that works and why you are using that sort of business model.
Yeah, so I mean the business, the podcast business is fairly new. So right now the business model is, the goal was for me obviously you want to get more clients and you want to make money obviously, but the goal was to get people to create content on a weekly basis. And why that is that we want people to post on YouTube. Like if you're going to do a YouTube channel, you need to do 1 a week minimum to get growth or to see any good analytics from your business. So if you do 1 a month, it's like YouTube's not going to see that as a good thing, and they're not going to show your video after another video, or you're not going to pop up as much in the searches, and you're not going to create an impact for your business or your name or your brand, right? So we push people to create content every week, and then we push people to post every week. So we did have a client that didn't post. So he did come in every week, but he didn't have time to post. So I told him, like, and that's why we started posting for people, because we just wanted them to have their video posted at the right time. So that's kind of the model right now. And it was fairly cheap. We wanted to keep it fairly cheap, or we think it's cheap. It depends what business you're in, right? Because we have clients like real estate agents. If we see, like, they might make 10 grand in one sell. So if they get one good lead, it would pay their studio. It would be more than their studio time for the year on a weekly basis plus posting. So it's a very good thing for them. And then if we talk about cost a little bit, then business model is just, it's $175 per week if you come on a weekly basis, and then it's $200 if you come every 2 weeks, $225 if you come every month. But really the idea is just to get everybody come in on a weekly basis, just to push them to create content, right? And a lot of people will say when they come in, they say, Jerry, I don't know, like, I don't know if I'll have enough content, and like, I take real estate agents. I have a few IT guys, like IT, you can talk about anything really. And it's just, and I tell them, like, don't worry about it. You'll find content. Even I can find content for you, because I tell them to speak about something small, and it could be the tiniest thing. Like, I could speak about the Epiphan video gear for like 3 hours, but you can also speak to different parts of that gear, right? Like, you speak about the certain feature, like the upload, like the automatic uploads. You could speak about different things, and I see you guys do a lot of like YouTube videos, so you kind of see that anybody could find anything. Like, you could talk for hundreds and hundreds of videos, and it doesn't matter if it's the same thing over and over again. If you look at I don't know if you know Gary Vaynerchuk, Gary V. So Gary V will just kind of re-say the same thing over and over again, but he's creating new content, and that content on YouTube is searchable. So if you recreate the same video twice with a different spin, it's still searchable, it's still new content, and YouTube sees that as a good thing. And YouTube is owned by Google, so it's all like, it's all a big mishmash there, right? For the business, it's great to be searched.
Yeah, definitely. There's a lot of SEO benefits to staying relevant and producing content on a regular basis. Curious about, since you have your clients on a subscription-based model, obviously it's in your interest to sort of automate the production process as much as possible, so that, you can create more efficiently. So what kind of hacks are you looking for? What kind of technologies are you following to try to, simplify that workflow and make it as low touch as possible?
Yeah, well, that's gonna come hand in hand with the new studio that I'm opening soon, I guess, because obviously I'm always looking at the new switchers and the new stuff, and I got lucky enough for you to find me, because you guys kind of contacted me, and then I discovered Epiphan Video, which is a really cool thing. And I don't know if you don't mind, we'll jump into that.
Yeah, absolutely. Space, tell us about the new, because you've got this new studio you're opening soon. Mm-hmm. It's in a co-working space, so I think that you mentioned that there's like 40 companies in the building, and it sounds really cool what you've got planned. So tell us about what you're planning there, and how you figure Epiphan into that studio.
Yeah, so basically, just to go back a little bit, I wanted to sell a product that was just, 2 mics, a board, and then, I would bring that to your office, and then you would only need to press record. Basically, you would record your podcast. And then at first it was like, okay, well, I'll ask the admin person to, transfer it, to transfer the footage to a drive, and then, transfer that to me, which was a lot of a big process, right? Like the idea was there, and then clients came to me and said, can we add video? And I was like, oh, I don't know. Like, it's a lot of footage, it's a lot of data. Can we do that? I'm not sure. And then I met you guys. So Epiphan came in play, and then I was starting to look at this at your software and at your gear, and then it was really cool because the actually stuff came out that there is the ideal thing that I needed, basically. So I tried to sell to people like, we'll set up something. It's going to be a one button, one touch. You'll press record. You'll have one camera. At first, it was with the Nano. I was thinking of the Nano, one input, one camera. And that's going to transfer automatically to me through the cloud, and then I'll edit it and send it back to you. So that was the idea of setting that up at different businesses, at their office, like a real estate office or mortgage broker office. These, they want content, right? Because they know it's good for them. And then somebody asked, like a client at a gym, he's like, you know what? I need 3 cameras. This is what I need. And I was like, oh, it's going to cost you maybe 10 grand to set that up. It was very hard to figure this out. And all that idea came to me testing the Epiphan gear. And maybe we could see that photo at some point, the testing in my basement. Basically, yeah. So I was testing in my basement the Epiphan gear with the Pearl Mini with 3 cameras plugged into it. And then I was testing that with the soundboard there, which is
Cameron has the photo here, I think.
If
where you've got that kind of your test setup.
The Rodecaster, sorry. So you got the Rodecaster there. Rodecaster is a great soundboard. It has amazing compressors, which really helps in that case, because I wanted to create in the new studio a self-serve podcast studio with 3 cameras. So first, the audio board, what's great about it is that you won't need to modulate because of the compressors. And the mics I use is the SMB7, I think. SMB7, Sony's. So with these mics pairing with that board, you don't need to modulate. You don't need somebody to play with levels. You can just leave it up with that nice compressor, and you can yell in these mics. And that was a game changer at the beginning, because I could like not be there to modulate mics, right? If it'd be 4 people and they wanted extra, yeah, you'd need maybe a technician. It'd be better. But that board can record separate tracks and all that stuff. So what I did is I put that board into the Pearl Mini, and then we brought in the 3 cameras in the Pearl Mini. We use a lot lower cost cameras for that system. But honestly, like cameras that you actually proposed, Dan, was the M200 from Canon. And these cameras, if you set them up right, like fully manual, because they're fully auto, but if you set up a space that's super well lit and your focus doesn't move, it really gives you a great image. I don't know if that's what you have right now.
It's what I'm using right now.
Yeah, which is, as you can see, guys, like it's a great image. So if you're looking for a camera, but you don't know what to use, that's a good one. And so going to the studio that we're building, so it's gonna be, and we'll see one of those photos later on, a little bit funnier, but so the studio is gonna be set up with the Epiphan gear to have that one-touch recording button. Right, that was the most important thing. And then the second most important thing was, so this is me and my girlfriend. We're just testing some gear. I'm often found in my basement just testing, which is fine.
It's the lab, the video laboratory.
Exactly. But the space is gonna be really cool, and so that's kind of the idea. It's gonna be a different table. Kind of different setup, but it's gonna be fully self-serve, because people will just press one button. It's gonna record the 3 cameras, the audio, and pretty much everything, right? And then, so the thing I was gonna say is that the Epiphan gear will give you the option to send that video like you can schedule it at night, and it's gonna send it to the Amazon S3 servers, and then you can download it from there or share it to somebody else from there. So my automation goal is that I have a virtual assistant that's going to edit for me. So he's going to download the videos, edit them, match them to a schedule with an email, and then send it back to that person or send it to me for more editing. So there's going to be a whole process into that studio, which I'm super excited because it's going to be great. And I think, the Epiphan gear really made it happen for me, definitely, for that studio.
So really, if once you get this up and rolling and you have your virtual editor as well, who will get all of the file uploads automatically, I mean, this is potentially, just a revenue generating studio that will require minimal input from you. Your job will be to go out there and land the clients and market the studio, but the studio will kind of run itself. Is that sort of the idea?
Yeah, that's the idea. And a key thing in there is the shared space. So it is a shared office space where I'm renting, and there's going to be somebody at the door, for all the businesses. So there's going to be an admin at the door for all the businesses. So that person will be able to see my scheduling and then go and bring them to the studio. I might be there for the first time, or I might do a video that, they press play, they watch how it works. And it's going to be very simple. It's going to be press that button, red light goes on, and then you're hot, right? So that's kind of the idea. So it is going to run by itself, hopefully. I think it will. And mainly the shared space also is going to create a massive load of clients because they're all entrepreneurs in that shared space. So that's really cool for us too.
Yeah, fantastic. And we see a lot of, those sort of, especially now with people going to more of a hybrid work model where maybe they just need office space occasionally. This could be really good timing for a studio like this to give some. I could imagine you might have something where your subscription based clients would get like a key fob for the space and just walk in and use it whenever they need it.
For sure,
that's very cool.
That's kind of the idea. Like people will have their time slot again, a little bit like this space, but after they show them once, I think they'll be able to just go in and say hi to the person in front, maybe use the kitchen, get a coffee, and just go to the studio space and press record. And it's gonna be a very podcast style, a little bit like Joe Rogan, like that same style. And people will have options to record just audio, just video, 1 camera, 3 cameras with audio, get the edit, non-edit. And all that's going to be pretty much automated into a system, or I'm working on that, like the booking system and all that stuff. And from there, it's just going to be really easy, right?
Very, very cool. So it's really interesting, like kind of seeing where you've come from, which is like, the broadcast world that has extremely large, complex systems, difficult technical challenge. Nothing is necessarily easy. But now you're kind of taking what you learned there and sort of applying it to a much more sort of streamlined, efficient workflow using, tools that you've discovered on your own. So just curious, like what kind of, from your perspective, what kind of trends do you see for, these sort of on-demand studios? I think you mentioned that there's other cities that you've seen this model really take off.
Yeah, so it was a different model. I looked in Montreal. The goal was to open a space in Montreal, because there was no pandemic at that time, or the pandemic was very new, so we didn't know about it, right? So we wanted to open a space in Montreal, and I was starting to look into that. I saw different studios in Montreal. What were they off? They were offering something more simple though. So it was like. Different camera, and which is fine, but it was basically we give you the we give you the audio, and then we give you the camera footage, and if you want editing, it's $100 per hour. And their system was basically they were recording on cameras directly, which is it's doable, but it's a lot more work, or it won't. You can't have somebody work alone. That it can't be
You
a
still need to
self-serve.
transfer the files. You've got all those little,
Exactly.
I call them
So
like little touch points in the workflow, like taking a card out of a camera and then transferring it to a hard drive and then transferring it to an editor. It doesn't seem too complicated, but imagine you're trying to do that 3-4 times a day, every day of the week or every other day of the week.
yeah,
Suddenly
you're losing a lot of
5-10
time.
minutes becomes actually a big part of your process. So eliminating
Exactly.
those steps could be extremely valuable.
Yeah, and if you can, like right now, I always have a tech here that is cutting the show and creating all that live, which is it is a fast pace. It's probably the fastest way I can transfer footage for people. The other one's gonna be fast also, but really the edit time is gonna be maybe 24 hours. It's gonna be a little bit slower. But people will be able to book easily because there's no technician, right? So, and I see a good value. Well, for me, as you know, as I want to create maybe more of these studios, I'll be able to do that without hiring 10 different staff or something like that. And I definitely see like technology moving really fast. Like we see like Frame.io is a really cool software online platform for revision, and then now they have this system that you can basically kind of like live stream directly to Frame.io to be able to edit the footage maybe in like in lower res. And I've never tested that feature, but I've heard about it. But I see with the internet speeds going up and the technology is going a little bit faster, like I see like cloud editors, if everything would be on a cloud, and then obviously a cloud is just a drive somewhere that we access. But I see a lot of potential for editors to become more like to be able to work from anywhere in the world, right? Without necessarily like, having to shoot and then edit. And it's very hard right now to, if I shoot something in 6K B-RAW, it's very hard to transfer that to somebody else unless I re-export all the footage, in H.264, color graded, ready to go. Then I can do it, but it's still an hour or 2 hours of my time, right?
That adds up quite a bit.
For sure. But I definitely see the technology going somewhere that cloud editing will be a thing. I've seen some ads on Facebook like, we'll edit all your videos for $350 a month, and it's still like maybe they're a little bit avant-gardist, like they're a little bit early for their time. Because it's very. I tried once to get like an editor outside of the country, and they're good, but it was like I needed to tell them everything I needed them to do, versus I just wanted to save time. It just wasn't doable right now. But
you end up working through proxy.
Exactly, but it's still like since I'm an editor also, like it didn't make sense for me to shoot that to somebody else unless they would take unless they would know already what to do, kind of thing. It was a lot of work, but I think the studio thing is going to work very well because the virtual assistant is going to actually just cut the 3-camera show, and then from there, I'll finish up with the graphics or something like that, or it's going to be automated. I don't know yet, but it's going to be a cool thing.
Well, very exciting, and we'll definitely want to catch up with you throughout this project and see how things are going. And I think you've maybe sparked some ideas for people with this. The one-touch content creation, on-demand studio, 0 personnel required. That's a business model that could be very profitable if you have it set up right. So, we'll definitely want to follow along. I'll just ask if anybody's in chat and has any questions for Jeremy, certainly let us know. But if not, it was really great to have you here today, Jeremy. What kind of having your hands on the Epiphan? I think you've got the Pearl Mini and the Pearl 2 now deployed.
Yeah.
What's your sort of first impressions having had a chance to really test these products out?
Yeah. So first impression, well, Well, like at first hand, it was very, it's a very technical product, right? Also very cumbersome. Like it has a lot of features into it that when you grab the product, you don't see them right away because they're all online, right? But those features are really amazing because you can access and change pretty much everything. And it's like, if you know OBS, it's like OBS integrated in there, not OBS per se, but you have your own OBS kind of style and live stream system and, transferring data. So the whole system really gives you a lot of options, right? Versus my other system that I use right now, it's made for one thing, and that's the thing, right? So it's nice to have that versatility in those system, and professional connections, like everything is really nice and easy to use when you get into it. Like at first it can look a little scary, but when you get into it, it's very simple. I think, but that's just I like buttons, So I do like I don't have a Nano, but I know the Nano has a record button versus a touchscreen, so I like that. But also like the whole thing works really well, right? So I think overall the system's really cool, and I'm excited to use it in my new studio. Like that's kind of like, yeah, it's an all-in-one system, right?
Awesome. Well, you touched on a couple of things that we always like to harp on, which is, sort of flexibility, being able to make it work for you and customize it to your production workflow, but also, being somewhat intuitive, like an OBS or something, where it's not too difficult to figure it out. And then finally, like being very reliable. If you're going to have something that's an automated workflow,
is reliable, yeah.
You need to be able to trust that when your customer hits record, that those files will end up where you need them to go.
For sure, because I've worked with a system, I think it's called live stream system, like literally live stream, which not to say that it wasn't a good system, but it was based on Windows, and then Windows would update, and then you can imagine what comes around with that. Like, just like
no kidding.
Windows update, then everything crashes, and then it was very hard. Like it was basically a computer with a screen in it. But the Epiphan system is nice because it is very, very stable. Like I've been running it for days now in my basement, and it's running full time. We could probably connect to it and see my basement right now, which we won't do. But Cameron's like, I'm going to do this right now.
Yeah, Cameron's behind the scenes pulling up your SRT connection right now through the cloud.
But it's been running for a really long time now, just testing stuff and recording and transferring, and I didn't see it crash. So it's a good system. It's very stable.
Awesome. Well, we can't wait to see the studio when it's built, and we're looking forward to that. And just thanks a lot for sort of sharing some of your perspective with us today, and we look forward to catching up with you again.
Yeah, no problem. Hopefully I wasn't too much all over the place. Sometimes
it's awesome. We love hearing your story, and like we're just excited to see how JEEMAN Productions continues to grow. So we'll check in with you again. For everyone, thank you very much for joining us again on Live at Epiphan. If you want to connect with us, you can always email us, info@epiphan.com. If you want to check out Jeremy's site, I think Marta has put it in chat. You can go to his Facebook page or just Google his production company, JEEMAN Productions. And I guess that's it for today. Thanks again, Jeremy, and to everyone in the Epiphan, we'll see you again in a couple of weeks.
Thanks.
So long.